Good afternoon, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for coming back. I always appreciate you taking the time, you sharing the time with me. Today is March the 6th, 2024. I have several news updates to share with you. I will start with Ethio-Somalia tension presented by CGTN. Then I have next to that I have Ethiopia First Ladies presenting different gifts, dressing each other. So that will be next. Then I have also several news to share in reading. At the end, I have two more videos on a call for ceasefire in Gaza. So thank you again for coming back. Let's go straight to this CGTN report on Ethio-Somalia tension.
Embassy is here. We didn't expel the ambassador. Their planes come here. We didn't stop them. We are doing all that because we want to maintain good neighborliness. We are not ready to revive an old painful history and old wounds. We hope Ethiopia will retract this illegal MOU. We will not accept violations against our sovereignty and territorial integrity. It's non-negotiable. The tensions between Somalia and Ethiopia comes at a time when countries in the region are busy working to cease hostilities in Sudan, while mitigating impacts coming from the Red Sea tensions through organizations like the African Union and the Intergovernmental Authority on Development. Policymakers have called for cooperation to strengthen peace and stability in the already volatile region.
I hope that Ethiopia, which is now isolated internationally, would take a step backward, and the two countries can then have dialogue and discussion for the mutual benefit of the populations of Ethiopia and Somalia. The two countries are neighbors. They would remain neighbors. They have common communities and common borders. It is in their best interest to work for the common interests of the two countries, rather than trying to think you can grab a territory of the other or the other way around. And in this particular case, I think the consensus was here to resist that and to work for peace and consensus in the region.
Somalia and Ethiopia have fought past wars over land disputes, but analysts are confident that this time around, the current tensions over sea access will be resolved through diplomacy.
I think this will eventually be diplomatically solved between the two states. But until Ethiopia becomes convinced about the importance of diplomatic channels in terms of resolving, conflicts and issues that arises in the region with the relevant, authorities, and that won't come anytime soon. But I believe in the end, it will come to a diplomatic solution for this problem. And Ethiopia definitely benefits from a stable Somalia, then it would benefit from unstable Somalia. And the same applies to Somalia. We benefit more from a stable Ethiopia than a destabilized Ethiopia. So definitely diplomatic solution is the way forward.
In a bid to bring the two sides closer and avoid further escalation, an initiative by the Kenyan President William Ruto engaged the two leaders during a recent meeting at the UN Environment Assembly in Nairobi. There are hopes that more advanced talks, including a possible meeting between President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, will happen in the future. Hamid Kahi, CGT and Mogadishu, Somalia.
Okay, here we go. The next one is Zanna Tayatu, Ethiopia First Lady and Kenyan First Lady, presenting or dressing each other with a gift. There you go. could be as a symbol of Oromo tradition, cultural style. No. Okay.
150 days of violence.
So Nastayachu just gave the First Lady of Kenya only one gift, scarf. I don't think that's enough. But anyway, the tension between Ethiopia and Somalia still exists, and it's not resolved yet. And people are living in Somalia are also impacted by this. I hope it will be resolved very soon for the benefit of both countries. Let me read news and to you. This one is positive news for Ethiopia. It says Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, March 5, that was signed yesterday. Boeing and the Ethiopian Airlines announced an agreement for the East African Airlines to purchase 8 777-9 passenger airplanes and the potential for up to 12 additional jets. Ethiopian Airlines selection of 777-9 jets positions the carrier as the first 777X customer in Africa and builds on its landmark 2023 order for 11 787 Dreamliner and 20 737 MAX airplanes to modernize and grow its fleet. In quotation, we are pleased to continue setting the trend in Africa aviation by adopting cutting-edge technologies to enhance our services and customer satisfaction, improving our operational performance and commitment to environmental sustainability. The 777-9 offers more flexibility, reduced fuel consumption, and carbon emissions, end of quotation, said Ethiopian Airlines Group CEO, Mr. Mesfin Taso. Again in quotation, we are grateful to Boeing for their long-standing partnership and support, and we eagerly anticipate flying the 777-9 across the African skies and beyond, end of quotation. Based on the 777 and with advanced technologies from the 787 Dreamliner family, the 777-9 features new carbon fiber composite wings and engines that will enable the airplane to achieve 10% better fuel efficiency and operating costs than the competition. The 777-9 will support Ethiopian Airlines' plans to grow and renew its fleets in size, range, and passenger and cargo capacity to reach high-demand markets in Africa, Asia, Europe, and North America. In quotation, Ethiopian Airlines marks yet another first in our long-standing partnership by selecting the 777-9 to be the flagship of its growing fleet, end of quotation, said Brad McMullen, Boeing Senior Vice President of Commercial Sales and Marketing. In quotation again, building on a relationship that goes back 75 years, we deeply value the unwavering trust and confidence Ethiopian Airlines puts in our airplanes, end of quotation. Credit for this, morningstar.com. So that's a positive news for Ethiopia and for Ethiopians. And I hope they will not use these airlines for military purposes, because Fano and last time accused Ethiopian Airlines using this civil aviation to transport soldiers into Amara region. This is about OLF official given a chance to be released by bail bond. It says court rules release of OLF officer Bati Urgesa on bail. The Addis Ababa City First Instance Court, Bole Division has ruled the release on bail of Bati Urgesa, a political officer of the Oromo Liberation Front (OLF), who was arrested alongside French journalist Antonio Galindo. The duo were apprehended by security forces while conducting an interview at the Skylight Hotel in Addis Ababa on 22nd February 2024. They appeared before court a day later accused of, in quotation, conspiring with two armed groups, the Oromo Liberation Army Shane and the Fano militia, to incite unrest in the capital. End of quotation. While Galindo was released on Thursday last week, a day ahead of his scheduled appearance before the court for the second time, the court on Friday, 1st March 2024, granted police 5 additional days to remand and investigate Bate. Bona Yazo, Bate's defense attorney, told Addis Standard that during today's session, the court ruled to release Bate on 100,000 Ethiopian birr bail against police inquiry of additional 10 days for further investigation. Bate Urgesa, an outspoken politician, has already spent years in and out of detentions on several occasions. Most recently, he had encountered a serious health issue while in police custody as one of the dozens jailed leaders of the Oromo Liberation Front, including Mikhail Boran, Kananisa Ayana, Dawit Abdata, Lammi Benya, Gada Gabisa, who remained in Oromia police custody long after they were freed by a federal court. So that is illegal, but the Prime Minister office and his Kore Nagenya still holding these OLF officials. Despite the court ruling, they are against the constitution. They have no reason to hold them once the court investigate and order their release. But no respect to the country's constitution under Prosperity Party, when the Prime Minister, when he came to power in 2018, promised to protect the constitution and to defend human rights and freedom of expression. But they can do whatever they want because the power is in their hand. So we'll see if they can release Bati Urgesa in this huge bond. People are suffering due to inflation and lack of unemployment. Now the government is making money off of these individuals, 100,000 Ethiopian birr. This was reported 8 hours ago. It's concerning the Amara region. It says, again, this is credit for Addis Standard. Amara police says high power transmission line, in quotation, struck by extremist group, end of quotation, causing widespread outage. The police in the restive Amara region said the 230 kV high power transmission line that stretches from Bahr Dar, Debre Tabor, Nifas Moucha, Gashana, Alamata was struck by extremist, in quotation, extremist groups causing power outage in most parts of the region. A statement issued by the police said one phase of the transmission line was struck by a weapon on Tuesday, 05 March 2024, around noon, near Nifas Moucha town in the South Gondar zone. The Ethiopian Electric Power, EEP, announced yesterday that disruptions covering multiple cities and towns across Afar, Amara, and the Tigray regions after transmission line were cut off. Ethiopian Electric Power didn't explain what caused, in quotation, the broken, end of quotation, transmission lines, but said its technicians were working hard to restore all and asked communities affected by the disruption, in quotation, wait patiently. According to the regional police, however, the targeting of the power transmission lines is part of a wider strategy deployed by the Fano armed group to aggrieve and incite the people to fight. It similarly accused the group of disrupting the distribution of soil fertilizer in the region. This comes in the backdrop of resurgence of hostilities across the region, including the recent intense fighting in the regional capital Bahr Dar, particularly in localities identified as, in quotation, Abai Maido and Kabale 14, where exchange of heavy weaponry were audible at this standard. So that is the result of conflict in that region, which is not supported. The government operation is not supported by residents in Region 3. They don't support. They support Fano, except those Prosperity Party officials. That is why the conflict is still going on, and it will continue because it doesn't have public support, public appetite to live with Prosperity Party. And the Amara and those Fanos, they want to remove Prosperity, the Amara Prosperity Party from the region. They want to control. Then they want to advance to the Prime Minister's office. That's their dream. But they are still struggling to hold on their victories. And people are suffering. And the transportation and other embargoes still in effect in just here to Debre Brahan area. People are, facing tough life challenges. There's the same situation in Oromia region too. Oromia region still is not settled. The war is still going on, and not much reporting by Addis Standard or by other news outlets. We don't have that much news about the war has been going on in Oromia region since 2018, since Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came to power, but we don't have that much media coverage. This is again from Addis Standard. It says U.S. Horn envoy to attend AU-hosted strategic review of Pretoria Agreement. U.S. Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, SEHOA, Mike Hammer, is due in Addis Ababa between 7 to 13 March, where he is scheduled to attend, in quotation, an African Union hosted strategic review of the implementation of the Pretoria cessation of hostilities agreement between the government of Ethiopia and the Tigray People's Liberation Front TPLF, end of quotation, the State Department said. His travel, which extends until 20 March, will also include a trip to London and Rome. In quotation again, while the guns have been silenced, it is necessary to undertake additional steps essential to achieving a lasting peace, including expedited progress on disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration, sustained action on a credible transitional justice process, and accelerated activities to enable the return of internally displaced, end of quotation, the State Department readout said. Furthermore, Ambassador Hammer will also meet with Ethiopian government officials, in quotation, to discuss efforts to advance dialogue to end the violence in the Amhara and Oromia regions, as well as review broader regional issues, end of quotation. The scheduled, in quotation, strategic review, end of quotation, meeting by the African Union is the first since the signing of the Pretoria Agreement and comes a week after the Tigray interim administration has announced its decision to engage with the federal government regarding the agreement exclusively through the African Union. In quotation again, further coming discussions will be exclusively conducted through the African Union panel, end of quotation, said the regional administration after the decision was passed by the regional council. The interim administration said discussions with the delegates from the African Union, designated mediators, and the federal government will take place in the coming weeks with the aim of addressing the persistent challenges related to the full implementation of the Pretoria Agreement. There has been growing differences between the federal government and the Tigray interim administration with regard to unmet expectations of the Pretoria Agreement, most notably on the unresolved status of western and parts of southern Tigray, which are still occupied by government-affiliated forces from neighboring Amhara region, and the resultant delay in the return of internally displaced people, and well as the withdrawal of Eritrean forces. The two sides also have differences in the slow response to the ongoing severe drought that is claiming the lives of hundreds in the Tigray region, and the delay in the progress of the disarmament, demobilization, and the reintegration of the Tigrayan forces. On 9th February, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and his cabinet members met with a delegation led by Getachew Reda, president of the interim administration of Tigray, and the senior officials of the TPLF to assess the advancement in the implementation of the Pretoria Agreement. Although the federal government refrained from providing details on the outcomes of the meeting, in a subsequent media briefing, Getachew Reda, president of the Tigray interim administration, said that the current alteration in the demographic makeup of Western Tigray, combined with the persistent displacement of its inhabitants, precludes the feasibility of conducting a referendum, drawing a stark difference from the position held by the federal government. 2 days ago, the Minister of Defense, Abraham Belai, has announced plans by federal government plan to return civilians who are displaced from Western Tigray to their residence. In quotation, pave the way for a referendum intended to definitely settle the territorial disputes. End of quotation. Abraham revealed a plan by the federal government to establish, in quotation again, a temporary administrative structure in the Western Tigray areas, supported by direct budget allocation and a local empowerment until the referendum takes place. End of quotation. A report by Addis Standard, as recent as January this year, revealed that approximately 7,000 newly displaced civilians from western and northern Tigray areas presently under the control of Amara forces affiliated with the federal government were seeking refuge in Baguna town near Shire in just 1 month alone. So that is a challenge, and that is the obstacle for peace in that region. And some media are reporting Getachew Reda is sick and in hospital. I don't know. I didn't see from many different media, but one media is reporting he is sick and he's getting care in hospital. So it needs more verification. This is about U.S. State Department sanctioning or targeting Houthi revenue sources. The United States today imposing sanction on 2 ship owners and identifying 2 vessels as blocked property for their role in shipping commodities on behalf of Said al-Jamal, an Iran-based Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps force backed Houthi financial facilitator. Revenue generated through al-Jamal's network enables Houthi militant efforts, including ongoing attacks on international maritime commerce in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. The consequences of these attacks are felt far beyond the region, and the United States will continue to use all available measures to disrupt the funding streams that enable these destabilizing activities. So, but this sanction didn't stop the Houthis from attacking the vessel today and killing crew members and injury. This is just reported by CNN. Let me read what it says. Crew members killed for the first time in the Houthis' attacks on commercial ship near Yemen, U.S. officials say. A Houthi ballistic missile attack on commercial ship in the Gulf of Aden resulted in at least 2 fatalities among the crew members, 2 U.S. officials told CNN, making the first time that the Iran-backed militant group has killed anyone as part of their ongoing attacks on ships transiting the Red Sea. The attack struck the MV True Confidence, a Barbados-flagged Liberian-owned bulk carrier, the officials said. The ship has since been abandoned and coalition warships are now in the area assessing the situation, the official said. At least 6 other crew members were injured, one of the officials said. The attack happened around 11:30 a.m. Sana'a time, or around 3:30 a.m. Eastern time, one of the officials said. The strike marks a significant escalation on the Houthi attacks on the Red Sea shipping, which began in October in response to the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. The Houthi said in a statement that the strike was, in quotation, accurate, end of quotation, and caused a fire to break out on the ship. In quotation again, the targeting operation came after the ship's crew rejected warning messages from the Yemeni naval forces, end of quotation. A Houthi statement about the attack read. The Houthi statement reiterated the group's support for the Palestinian people. And said they will not stop the attacks in the Red Sea until the Israeli, in quotation, aggression stops and the siege on the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip is lifted, end of quotation. Credit, as I said, CNN. So the call for ceasefire is coming from the White House, and I hope it will help to stop these Houthi attacks. That is their demand. They say, end Gaza genocide, so we can stop attacking the vessels. But the White House refused. The White House vetoed 3 times at least, the call for ceasefire. And Biden became clearly against the Palestinian people. He was just keep watching the death and the destruction happening in Gaza. But now his vice president and he himself is calling for ceasefire. So even though it comes at the end, even though it comes late. This is for Super Tuesdays, US Super Tuesdays. Let me read. Nikki Haley ends White House bid, clearing path for a Trump-Biden rematch. South Carolina, March 6. Okay, Nikki Haley ended her long-shot challenge to Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump on Wednesday, ensuring the former president will be the party's candidate in a rematch with Democratic President Joe Biden in November's election. Haley, the former South Carolina governor and Trump's ambassador to the United Nations, bowed out a day after Super Tuesday, while Trump beat her soundly in 14 out of 15 Republican nominating contests. In quotation, the time has now come to suspend my campaign, end of quotations. Haley told supporters during a speech in Charleston, in quotation again, I have no regrets, end of quotation. She said it was likely Trump who repeatedly belittled her candidacy would be the Republican nominee but didn't endorse him. In quotation, it is now up to Donald Trump to earn the votes of those in our party and beyond it who did not support him, end of quotation, she said. In quotation again, and I hope he does that, end of quotation. Drawing on her foreign policy experience at the UN, Haley said it was important to continue U.S. global leadership Throughout her campaign, Haley said the United States must help Ukraine defend itself against Russian aggression, a position at odds with Trump. In quotation, if we retreat further, there will be more war, not less. End of quotation, she said. Trump didn't capture the endorsement on Wednesday of Mitch McConnell, the long-time Senate Republican leader who some party hardlines considered insufficiently aligned with the former president. In quotation, it should come as no surprise that, as nominee, he will have my support, end of quotation, said McConnell, who is stepping down as leader. There was no indication Trump would moderate his message. Credit for this one, Reuters. So Trump will be a nominee for Republican Party. The only challenge stopping him, is the court issues related with the January 6th riot, insurrection at the Capitol here, and it's up to the Supreme Court if they can allow him to be a president, especially on the case of immunity. He is claiming he is immune from persecution. So we'll see. The only challenge is the court issue. If the court declared him, he can challenge Biden. Who knows? Biden might lose, but it's too early to say. I'm disappointed about Biden administration sitting idle when Palestinians bombarded for 5 months by Israeli forces, and so many Arab Americans are also disappointed, including non-Arabs too. The young generation also disappointed by his lack of leadership. He didn't step in at the right time, but they are calling for ceasefire now. So still we appreciate. Let's listen to these 2 videos, short ones, calling for ceasefire in Gaza and end today's presentation. The first one is United Nations General Assembly President talking about Gaza challenge, the atrocities the Palestinians suffered, and calling for ceasefire. Next to him, Vice President Kamala Harris also calling for ceasefire, describing how the things went horrible for Palestinian people, even though it came late. Still, we appreciate if you can save lives in Rafah especially. Thank you again. Let's listen.
150 days of violence, breeding violence, despair, destruction, and devastation, and the dehumanization of people. Each day, this painful reality continues to entrench the feeling of frustration and disillusionment, especially by those caught in the crossfire, who look to the United Nations as a guarantor of the good. Each day that passes risks a deepening failure to meet our moral obligations and duties, and each life lost adds to the stain on our collective conscience. With resolve and urgency, let us therefore work much harder to immediately end this conflict and to lay down the foundations of a future where Israel and the state of Palestine can coexist peacefully. 2 states living side by side in harmony, united by a single shared vision for a brighter, more hopeful destiny.
Okay, one more video. Kamala Harris.
will be a gold mine of local intel.
Tell us about this corn festival.
Oh, you got your corn pudding.
So, is it safe around here?
Sometimes.
And given the immense scale of suffering in Gaza, there must be an immediate ceasefire. For at least the next 6 weeks, which is what is currently on the table. Hamas claims it wants a ceasefire. Well, there is a deal on the table. And as we have said, Hamas needs to agree to that deal. Let's get a ceasefire. Let's reunite the hostages with their families. And let's provide immediate relief to the people of Gaza. And just a few days ago, we saw hungry, desperate people approach aid trucks, simply trying to secure food for their families after weeks of nearly no aid reaching northern Gaza. And they were met with gunfire and chaos. Our hearts break for the victims of that horrific tragedy. Yesterday, the Department of Defense carried out its first airdrop of humanitarian assistance, and the United States will continue these airdrops. And we will work on a new route by sea to deliver aid. And the Israeli government must do more to significantly increase the flow of aid. No excuses. They must open new border crossings. They must not impose any unnecessary restrictions on the delivery of aid. They must ensure humanitarian personnel, sites, and convoys are not targeted. And they must work to restore basic services and promote order in Gaza so more food, water, and fuel can reach those in need.
Okay. So we appreciate the change of tone, the change of position on the United States side. Kamala Harris was hiding for almost 4 or 5 months on the issue. Biden was silent for the same period of time, ordering his ambassador at United Nations to keep vetoing the resolution for ceasefire. But even though it comes at the end, still we appreciate if it can save life, especially the Gaza-Egypt border. Israel repeatedly threatened to continue the bombardment, to continue to use its killing machine in that area. Still people are dying because there is no ceasefire. Still keep talking, people are dying. People are dying. Palestinians are still dying and losing their properties. So that's the challenge we are facing. And I hope Israel will listen to these calls. Usually they don't listen to anybody, not to the natural order, not to the human laws. They don't care. They don't care. They don't scare of anyone. The United States or European Union, United Nations, they don't care. They're just doing whatever comes to their mind without any consequences. No penalty. No penalty for generations since 1948. Since 1948, since their establishment. They just keep pushing the Palestinians out of their land, killing them, torturing them, arresting them in mass, and dehumanizing them, doing whatever without any consequences, even for UN Security Council resolutions. So we appreciate the US Vice President Kamala Harris for coming out and making this bold statement, challenging the Israelis to stop this bombardment and declare ceasefire. That's all I have for today. Thank you for joining me. I'll be back with other news. It's not easy to make this, to collect this news and present to you. It's not easy. It's easy for younger generation, not easy for working and for the head of the family. It's not easy, but I'll try. Thank you again. Be safe. So long, everyone.